the Living Dead.
Keep reading. Tom Savini's going to be doing the ill-advised remake of Night of the Living Dead. It's preposterous. It can be. It's a story. It's a movie.
The screenplay is done, or it's in a first draft.
The screenplay is definitely done. It's it's unique. It's the same original story with lots of twists and turns, and characters do different things and have different roles.
It was a Saturday. I ran over to the Dutch office, and I happened to catch Tom. And I knew what he looked like, knew who he was. And I've never done this in my entire career. I literally body blocked him and said, "Man, you gotta read me for this thing." He says, he tried to act like he wasn't even breaking the movie. He says, "What thing?" I said, "Your movie." He says, "You know about the movie?" I said, "Yeah, man, if we work together, you're gonna know a lot of me." He said, "Well, we're almost done with that." I said, "You gotta read me." And I jacked him up, and he'll verify this. I grabbed him and said, "You gotta read me." He says, "You got 5 minutes to prepare, come on in." What he didn't know was that I knew most of the original dialogue verbatim, and I knew who Ben was. So he let it be known to me and everybody around that this was the guy.
Tom called me up and said, "Hey, I'm doing Night of the Living Dead, and I'm going to send you a script, and I want you to pick any part you want." So I called Tom up and said, "Yeah, man, I want to play Harry, the guy in the basement." And Tom said, "Pick any part, just make sure it's Johnny."
You know, I remember George telling me stories of how he borrowed $100,000 to make Night of the Living Dead, and then Tom remade it, and you know, it's in my opinion, it's the most shocking film out there. You know, so.
Well, Night of the Living Dead wasn't a very good experience for me. For one thing, I wanted to shoot in this glorious cemetery 3 blocks from my house. I spent my childhood in the cemetery, riding my bicycle through here, walking through here, jogging through here. I really wanted to use this, but I mean, I understand the consideration. It would have been a move from Washington, PA to this place. Maybe it would have been expensive. But also, I didn't know when the movie started that 2 weeks into it, I would be in the middle of a divorce, you know. And that really wreaked havoc on my mind. You really need all your concentration when you're directing a movie, and even more so. But I was worried about the divorce, losing my daughter, you know, but I had to be there, and they kept slapping my hand. George wasn't there. If George was there, it would have been a blast, because George and I, you know, we click, we get along, you know. And I really wanted to please George. I wanted to impress him with what I was doing. And the few things I did get to do, the censors cut it out. Every exit wound, every time there was a headshot, they cut the exit wound. So the movie was sterile compared to the bloodbath that you might expect with George Romero and my name on the film. So the movie is really maybe 30 or 40% of what I intended to do. There were so many things that I didn't get to do in that movie. An example would be, when Tom goes to the gas pump, I wanted him to catch on fire, and I wanted his flaming body to go near the gas cap of the truck, and that's what makes the truck blow up. And there would have been a sequence in there where his girlfriend is in the car, you know, but he's on fire, so it's like, "Oh, honey, but you're on fire." Oh, you know, her boyfriend's coming at her in fire, so I thought that would have been cool, and there were some suspense things that I wanted to do. For example, my ending to the film, when Barbara goes back to the farmhouse, you know, was to have her see something in the upstairs window. And she thinks it's Ben. So when she goes in the house, she doesn't just go into the kitchen, she goes right up to the attic. And thinking Ben's up there, but when she goes up there, we see Harry. And Harry sort of retreats behind this full-length mirror. And now I have a 2-shot of Harry and Barbara. Harry for real, Barbara in the mirror. So we stay on the shot as Harry retreats behind the mirror, and her reflection raises the gun. With her reflection in the mirror, she fires the shot. The mirror, of course, shatters, you know. And now we see Harry's point of view as he's falling to the floor after being shot. And the last thing he sees when he looks up is Barbara's distorted image in the mirror. And so she says her famous line, here's another one for the fire, and she sees them drag Harry and Ben out to the fire. And they put Harry and Ben in the fire face to face. And the end credits was them burning into nothingness. It's been many years later, I'm getting a lot of great compliments about the film. I went to a midnight showing. I went there at 11 o'clock, did a Q&A beforehand. I wasn't going to watch the movie. But I sat down and watched it, and it was good. You know, it was good. The acting was terrific. So some suspense was there. You know, performances was good. I think, you know, we turned Barbara into a Sigourney Weaver hero type. People like that. Plus, you get to see a bit of a sequel. You know, at the end of the movie. So in general, I've been getting great comments about it being one of the better remakes that's out there, and there's so many remakes. You know, so I'm proud of it. I'm happy about it. I'm glad that I did it.
And Tom knew this story. You know, he was a Romero student. He sat at Romero's elbow, so he knew what Romero wanted, and he got it. And plus, the zombies were well cast. He did a great job at that, and the environment, you know, couldn't beat it.
What kept me going was I'd be, you know, in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, freezing on the hillside, you know, trying to direct zombies and things, and I thought to myself a long time ago, around 1968, when George asked me to do the effects on the original Night of the Living Dead, and I couldn't do it because of the Army, you know, and being in Vietnam and all that here I am directing a remake of it. So that kept me going, you know. Plus, you know, it was my first feature, so, you know, I swallowed a lot of crap just to make sure I got my name on a feature film, and it was Night of the Living Dead 90.